Talking all that jazz. 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 Well, here's how it's sampled. Give an example. 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 Well, here's how it's sampled. Give an example. 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 Give an example. Give an example. Give an example. 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 Give an example. Give an example. Give an example. Example. Give an example. Give an example. Example. Give an example. Give an example. Give an example. Give an example. Well, here's how it's sampled. Give an example. Give an example.
Hello, hello, hello. This is your girl, Camille WHO, the teaching artist. Hi. I'm so glad you came along and stretched with me. Now, I had the option of shortening these stretches and just going this and then that and then that and then this and this, that, and whatever. But then I had the thought that whenever I teach at festivals and work with kids and we do stretches and warm-ups, and when I do parent observation, when I have parent observation night with my dance classes or my drama classes, the parents who are observing, they're usually like, "Oh, I need this so bad." Oh. So I find that a lot of the parents usually do the stretches. So there you have a stretch routine that you can stretch with me anytime you want to. And this is sort of hits most, pretty much most, if not all of, well, most of the important muscle groups that you will need, I would say, fundamentally to increase your flexibility, to maintain the elasticity of your muscles. As we age, that we tend to stretch less, and it's always good to stretch. Maybe it's one time a week. Before you know it, it's 2 times a week, and then 3 times a week, and then 5 times a week. And something like that, that didn't take very long, but it pretty much hit your muscles. You know, it hit the quads and the hamstrings, and we got all the upper body stuff and your neck, all of the neck muscles. I took you through that whole series because as tiny as those muscles are, they really need to be stretched. I would just tell you not to go overboard with them, like really just gently lay to the side, gently bring them in whatever direction that I guided you into. Not to go like that. That's not necessary. They're tiny muscles. They don't need that much force. Stretching and warm up. Where should I start? When I started teaching dance, I was invited to teach a dance class now because I'm a natural teacher, because I come from New York City, and if anyone asks me to do something or that they're hiring me to do something and that I don't necessarily know how to do, I will figure it out. It's made me really good at, well, it made me hone my ability to break things down and be able to teach it, to be able to convey the message. Having a bit of a sort of learning disability when it comes to like comprehension, a lot of information coming to me at once. Sometimes even reading, I have to read the same line over and over and over again until it really sinks in and I really get it. So there was that challenge that I had, and realizing that not every person learns the same. I'm just as capable of learning. I just don't learn like, here's the information, now go memorize it and take the test. I'm just not that guy. I would rather really understand why it is what it is, and so that my brain would kind of stop in a spot while the rest of the information is being given. But I'm like, wait, what, and then I just lose track, and then I lose interest. And how many children have that challenge? That it goes unnoticed, and then they lose interest in school, they lose interest in learning. I feel for those students. Sometimes some students are more kinetic learners. They have to learn hands on. They have to understand why this works, why this doesn't work, and so on and so forth. We just have different kinds of learners. All right, I digress. Now, if you can remember, I don't know, maybe last video or the last few videos, somewhere in the series, I mentioned that I had gone to a dance class twice in my life. That was enough for me. It wasn't enough for me to perfect the art of ballet because it was ballet class, but it was enough for me to take note of what the structure of the class was, the format in which the class was taught. So I noted that, and then probably about 20 years later, I was asked to teach, probably less, about 15 years later, I was asked to teach a dance class. Now, I noted that, so I kept that format in my head. If I was ever to teach a dance class, I would do it like this. I would have a stretch and I would have a warm up, and then I would teach the combination. A combination is a combination of steps taught in a group, right? So sometimes it's 8 counts, sometimes it's 4 8 counts. And then I would do some sort of cool down or some kind of fun thing at the end. Maybe we breathe, maybe we just do a quick little freestyling circle or something like that to end the class with. That was my own little touch. Usually dance classes tend to end with a cool down. And so that was, I had just played around with what the cool down would be. So I took that format, I ran with it, and that's how I was unintimidated by the idea of teaching a dance class. I was first asked to teach hip hop, my fave, but then later on asked to teach musical theater and asked to teach, goodness, like body percussion, and which is making music with your body. And in that time, I was the only person that taught that because I kind of brought that from what I had learned in New York City and brought that to the school that I was teaching at, and was able to teach that in a formatted class. So I was unintimidated by teaching a dance class. And my only thing was that, okay, now I need to have, within this format, I knew that stretch had to happen. I knew that a warm up had to happen. So what I did was, because I used to run track and field when I was younger, I learned a lot of stretches there. So what I did was take those stretches, put them in this stretching order, and so that was my stretch routine. And I created the stretch routine because I wasn't going to guess it every class. I'd rather just have it streamlined. That's something about how I do things. I don't like necessarily winging it all the time. I'd rather have it all calculated and mapped out, and a routine, so that I don't have to, so there's no guesswork. So I had developed the stretch routine, but I knew all the stretches that I wanted to cover because I had already been a track and field runner. And I mean, ran in Madison Square Garden track and field, established track and field runner and jumper, and goodness, I have 9 lives. I'm telling you, people. So I used that, had my stretch routine. Then I had my warm-up routine, which literally all I did was I was at home one day and I said, okay, I'm going to develop a warm-up routine so that I can streamline this as well. And this way my classes can go so much smoother, and everyone knows, kind of gets to know my routine, and then they know what's coming next and they anticipate it, and sometimes I change it up just to kind of keep them on their toes, but sometimes we're like, no, let's just do what we do. And sometimes there's times where actually, there's times where I'm away and then I come back and they're like, oh, or I haven't seen these students in a while because they've gone to another class, and then they come back, or I sub or something and they're like, oh, I miss this routine. So it's pretty nice to kind of see that come back and know that your students actually enjoy it. Now, the thing about stretching and warming up, and I know that I've said, well, if you're going to stretch, it's something that stretching is for everyone. It's not for people just in dance class. It's not for people just in drama class. It is for everyone. It keeps the elasticity in our muscles. As we get older, we get stiffer. If you're sitting at a desk all day as your job, that is more of a reason for you to stretch. You take small bites and you go, okay, this is what I will do this portion. This is what I'll do with that portion. You sort of break it up into parts. It's good to do that instead of looking at a thing and being overwhelmed by it. So my advice, if you're going to stretch, which is very, very important to just keep it in your life, once a week. Then you eventually go to 2 times a week. Then when you're ready, you can go 3 times a week. Then when you're ready, you go 4 times a week. But start with 1 day a week and see the difference. Just feel the difference in what your body does. And you have a routine now. You got my routine. You could always play this video and and just stretch along with me. It's something that you can do. I mean, how long did it take? 5-6 minutes or so? Doesn't take very long to just devote your time and your body to that, and your health to that sort of routine. So I urge you, keep the stretches in your body and in your life. Okay. And that's just like promoting better health. I do recommend, if you sit down a lot, to do hip exercises. Now, I didn't do the hip exercises because that requires a lot of floor space. And in this studio, it's a recording studio. It's not a stretching studio. So I don't have that much space to really show you all of that. But I do suggest that, if you're looking up some hip exercises, go online, look up hip exercises. I would say if you are stretching, make sure you're in a warm room. But if you're not, I would recommend that you do a warm-up first. That's what you saw after the stretch routine. Do the warm-up first because the muscles are like a rubber band. If you put the rubber band in a freezer and then take it out and try to stretch it, what's it going to do? It's probably going to break. If you put it in someplace really warm, then it's more pliable. I think that's the word I'm looking for, but it definitely stretches better. So that's what I would suggest in order to get the full benefits of your stretch. Make sure you're in a really warm room, or that you have done your warm-up first and then stretch. Now, that's adding a couple more minutes to the routine, but I suggest that this is something that you should know. Now, I used to get injured all the time. You're talking about sprained ankles. Now, granted, I was also kind of clumsy. Like, I'm thinking of one thing and then doing another and then switching back. And then before you know it, I'm like tripping over my own feet or something like that. But I used to get injured a lot. And I found out through these injuries, a couple of things. One was that I play hard. Like, I play hard. Okay, whatever I do it hard. And so I jump head first into the pool and learn, oh, you can't do that, or you're okay. So next time, after my neck heals, like, I'm that person. The other thing that I learned was also that if I didn't stretch, I was more likely to get injured. And then I realized it was the times that I didn't stretch. Like, when you go outside and you go play ball with your friends, you're not thinking about stretching. So a lot of times when I played hard, I would get hurt. It was because I didn't stretch. A lot of times it was like a ball hitting something, or me hitting something else. I don't know. But most times it was because I didn't stretch. When I ran track and field, I hardly ever hurt myself because we always stretched first and we always warmed up first. It was a really interesting fact. There was one time I was asked to choreograph a routine, but also perform in a routine for the Cassandra Awards. This was in the Dominican Republic. This is like the Grammy Awards of Dominican Republic. It was by far the hugest production I had ever been a part of and ever seen ever in my life. And it was amazing to see. But there were other dancers, and what I noticed, these other dancers, and this is something that we did with track, the dancers were in, I don't know, 15 different in-betweens transition moments, and they had to learn all these different routines before the Cassandra Awards. And then we came to the Cassandra Awards and we had like a dress rehearsal, and everything was sets being built up and all that. And then they came and they would do their little routines, and like, all right, they would be called, but then they would be in waiting. A lot of times they were in waiting, and you know what they were doing? Stretching the whole time. Sometimes they're waiting for an hour. Sometimes, half of the group goes, the other half is stretching just the whole time. So when it's time for them to go, because they don't know when it is, it's not the show run, order. It's just, okay, now we're going to do this portion of the show. Okay, we need these dancers. Boom. They would be ready because they're stretching the whole time. And that would have been detrimental if they didn't. So it was really, that was something that was quite impressive to me. That really stuck with me too. Like, you got a job to do, and if you're here for 24 hours, for 20 hours, for 11 hours, and your job is to move with your body, then what you need to be doing is stretching the whole time, whether you're on that stage or not. I also teach my students that as well. I say, guys, put your all into it. Use your body so that when showtime comes, you're not putting your body in shock. You're already used to going all out. You're already used to, your body is already warmed up. Your body is used to doing that thing, telling that story, doing that dance routine. Because when you just go, ha ha ha, and then halfway this and halfway that, and then before you know, what happens is, when the audience is there, your adrenaline is going. And so you're like, yeah, you want to do the best that you can. But what you haven't realized is that you haven't prepared your body to do that. You are. By the time you're done, you're in pain. You are hurting and you crash. You crash and burn. You're so exhausted because your body hasn't been conditioned to do that very thing, because you haven't worked your body up to doing it and being fit enough for it. Being 49, going on 50, I am going to keep these stretches in my routine. Otherwise, I'm doomed. No. So I urge you, make sure you get a stretch routine going. You'll see the difference. It's not something that is really going to cost you too much, but it's going to benefit you for years and for years and for years and for years to come. Who knows what comes after that? Who knows? You get used to a stretch routine. Your body starts feeling better. Then all of a sudden you're like, you know what? If I could do this, then I can do that next thing. Just saying. This is your girl, Camille WHO, the teaching artist. And I am out. Stretch it out.